Nathan,
Hey,
it's been years?
yeah.
Is that possible? Yeah. Hi, I'm Griwkowsky. This is Nathan Martin, and we're back with Mando Lore talking about the first two episodes of season three, episode 17, The Apostate, and episode 18, The Mines of Mandalore. And I'll let you go. I'll ask you what you thought of them. But I almost didn't feel like doing this after watching episode 17. I was just like, oh no, the show's like fallen into that Disney trap where it's collapsing under its own weight. Luckily, we had I think they came back. But yeah, general thoughts about the first two?
The first episode was I'll say fun. If you have been following along, obviously with including the Boba Fett series, with all of this, you kind of got a little bit of overly recapped in the beginning, but you got your action beat, you got your meetup beat, and then you ended with another action beat. It was fine for sort of a comeback episode. I much more enjoyed this second episode. It seems to be very much like my only real criticism of it, I think, would be that namely it really felt like at the end of the first episode he was so determined to get the IG-88 memory thing back and was so easily sold on, nah, take this astromech droid, and he's like, oh, I guess I might as well.
See, I like that because the first episode to me felt like a Wikipedia entry telling us, oh, there's Grief Karga. And you know what I mean? Like Katan is just sitting there in an empty room, like a 1995 video game or something like that. He's just kind of going through. But the one thing I kind of dug about the first episode, the only thing I thought that kind of worked is he tries to do something. They take IG-11 out of the statue, and then IG-11 goes full Terminator on them, and it's like, well, that didn't work. And so to me, that was kind of the most interesting part of the story because it was slightly scary and something kind of happened
Mhm.
in a different way than they were going for. But it really did feel like kind of an old RPG kind of quest thing where it's like, go get this, and then they try to get it from those little Babu Frick guys, and no, they can't do it. So yes, and you're just like, is this like this is like The Last of Us or something where like the video game, we're just like collecting quest items. And so I kind of dug it when he just sort of accepts our 5D4. This guy
Yeah,
who I've had since
yeah.
1977, because he was in the that scene where Luke first gets R2 and
Bad motivator, got a bad
yeah,
motivator.
R5 blows up and all that stuff. Anyway, and then he goes for the useless robot basically, and then look what happens to him, right?
Yeah,
Like if he had IG-11 there, they might have had a fighting chance against those I think they're called alamites, those like kind of Harryhausen kind of monsters, and
yeah.
then that really really cool spider droid, which I thought was awesome. But I feel like if IG-11 was there, they just would have shot it and we wouldn't have gotten all that cool kind of like the fly kind of creepiness and the thing head crawling off and all this stuff. So it's actually good that that didn't work out from where I stand. But I definitely hear you. Like that first episode felt like they kind of like were pulling the toys out of the closet again, and they didn't quite know what to do. So
Yeah,
um,
I will admit in the second episode, episode actually jump scared me twice, and
right on.
I'm surprised because that does not happen to me. I don't jump scare at like anything. But
Yeah, you're
when
a
he
big
was
horror guy.
yeah, when he was looking at that helmet, I was not anticipating the big trap thing to come up,
Yeah,
and then I knew something was going to happen when he was walking into the waters.
yeah,
I wasn't expecting just a sploosh, and that legit. I was like, oh, that got me, and I was just like, and to see Bo-Katan really kind of be Bo-Katan and sort of see how I think my one of my favorite scenes in the second episode is when um, she's talking about her father
yeah, yeah, for sure.
and explaining how he died, and when Jin says this is the way, the look on her face is not like eye rolling. That meant something to her. I
Yeah,
thought that was really, you can see how their their dichotomies of faith I think they're gonna kind of like maybe this isn't the way.
Yeah. And that's where it gets interesting because to me, the first episode opens up, and I found it a little confusing because I was like, so it's all the Mandalorians standing on a beach and they're initiating a new convert into their tribe. And I thought for a second, is that supposed to be Din Djarin? And I'm like, no, I think it's not anyway. It didn't look enough like that other actor. But there are all these, zealots standing on a beach. A brand new fragile child is in their midst, and where do? They do this on the edge of like giant crocodile turtle beach and get attacked, and I'm like, these people are morons. Like like I even in the Boba Fett thing, I was starting to get a little sick of this, like just this uncompromising, you have to do these things, and so ultimately, like the way the first episode was set up was like Din Djarin needs to have a magic bath, and then he can rejoin his tribe of dumb people who like won't take their helmets off and get and put their children in harm's way. I mean, so I just kind of wasn't feeling his quest. What was good about this episode is it really kind of, I feel like it reminded us of the fact that actually the whole this is the way thing, and the sort of samurai code kind of thing that he's trying to teach Grogu is actually kind of interesting. And I agree with you 100%. That was the best part. That was kind of like the feels part of the episode when he's like, this is the way, about her father dying defending Mandalore. And then she sort of looks, and then she kind of looks over at Grogu with like a Han Solo kind of, what are you looking at? Because he got to her is the point, right? But still, seeing the mythosaur, I gotta admit, like, it was just like nerd dumb stuff, and I'm like, oh man, that was really cool. Like, you're kind of like, yeah. So all over that stuff. So yeah, the show's doing a good job of, I think, recapturing the faith, because Boba Fett was a mess, and then the Mandalorian episodes happened, and I think they did, because obviously the purpose of the first two seasons was for Grogu to get to the Jedi. It was that stuff with Luke and Grogu and everything was just like pretty mind-blowing and very emotional. Like Grogu gives up Yoda's lightsaber, like things like that. I was just, he now is a character. I think that's what's happening in the show too. Like he obviously can do that little spring hop, and one big Alamite like pro wrestler guy, he can just force push him
push him.
So yeah, and in terms of all that, like the character is growing in the sense that he's becoming more powerful. So it'll be interesting to see if they kind of pick up with that. Is he turning dark stuff? Because remember, he's being a bit of a dink in the last season now and then, right? And choking people and stuff. And that was really scary stuff. So it's just like, oh yeah, you do need Luke's help here, but he doesn't have it. So will the Mandalorian code replace the Jedi code? You can see by the results of both the Mandalorians and the Jedi at this point in Star Wars history that those codes didn't serve them very well. Like, they're all just dead. Yeah. How do you feel about, yeah, go ahead.
It feels like what it's going to do is, I think it's actually going to become maybe more of like a Bo-Katan / Mando story throughout the episodes, and either both of them or Mando himself sort of breaking off from their code enough to maybe unite the Mandalorians themselves, so that they can actually probably go back and try to rebuild a society. Seeing Bo-Katan with the Darksaber just like murking that thing was awesome. But yeah, going forward with what you said, it really feels like especially with Sudeikis mentioning like, oh, did he just say a word? Like, they're definitely teasing more character development for Grogu, and I kind of can't wait to see what they do with it.
Yeah. I was gonna say it's interesting because she still has a code of her own, of course, right? Like, she wanted that Darksaber really bad, but according to her own belief system, she has to fight someone for it. So she's got it in her hands, but they very purposefully show Din Djarin like holding it, kind of or he basically takes it off and leaves it on the beach, as it were, before he goes into the water. So yeah, we'll see. I have to admit, I was sort of worried about that rebuild the Mandalorian world thing, because it's like it just doesn't seem all that interesting to me. But
Mm.
I think what I am super grateful for though is that they got rid of the Mando gets a bath plot. Like that's done. It's like, okay, he's done. He's done. Like, because if it would have been like 8 episodes about that, just like, oh, come on. Yeah, and I don't know. I'm we always do this kind of, we're trying to think about what's next, but what's interesting here is it's like, I don't know. Like we know that this is the beginning of the time period where the First Order sort of starts to creep out of the woods. And I think they had a bit of a tease of that on that one base, remember, with those things that look like Snoke a little bit or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's totally open. So I really, really don't know what's going to happen. What I was grateful for as well was that, like, that space, like going back to the first episode, that space pirate, that green mossy guy, like that was total facepalm garbage. So I think unfortunately that's probably, we're gonna get kind of pulled back into that a little bit or something like that. But I mean, whatever. Like he obviously can't just be like wandering around and looking at, pretty valleys with Grogu. That's not a TV show. So
Obviously.
something has to happen. I mean, they seem to be setting up the fact that Grogu needs to understand maps and stuff. So I'm kind of guessing there's going to be there'll be they get separated kind of thing, and then they kind of have to find each other.
I think I'm looking forward to see where they go. They're clearly having fun with the series. Like they're like, some of the characters in the show are taking it seriously, but some of the characters are clearly not. They're there to point out how ridiculous some of the stuff is. And it's a show that I like having fun with. First episode was I really enjoyed the second one, so I can't wait to see where they go.
Yeah. And I agree with you too. And it was just sort of a tonal adjustment a bit to get back to that Grief Karga, Amy Sedaris's Pelly, like with, just a little better than far jokes, like in the background, the robot. We're back to pit droids, like out of episode 1, but I like episode 1 a lot more than a lot of people do. So I don't completely hate that stuff as long as there's some grit now and then, and I think flavored. So okay, well, anything else?
No, that's it for me. We should let people know that this won't be up until episode 4, the 4th episode, because you're going on vacation.
Oh, you mean we won't be doing this again until episode 4? Yeah,
we won't be doing this again.
Yeah. So don't look for it next week, but the week after. Hold your breath, wake up at dawn, and get ready for some winning commentary about from old really old boys talking about their toys still. No, I gotta say though, I was really excited. One last thing is, like, R5D4, I always played with this guy way more. So I was just really feeling that with Favreau. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, you're just moving the action figures around and having a good time. And I think there was something you could authentically feel about that. So yeah. All right, man. Well, it's really good to see.
Man.
Yeah. Okay, peace.